Still on the court when you proud to rep the city, New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepared for them hard fouls. Diving on the asphalt, driveways.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. I'm your host, Slice, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, as always, Coke, Jim, and Kyle, and also with us again is our executive producer, Mo. The Knicks played another down-to-the-wire game against the Nets, this one, unfortunately, with the same result as the last, dropping 114 to 112 and going to 25 and 26 for the season. Now, the first quarter was a close one, with no team able to really pull away too much, as the Knicks ended the first up by 3, 34-31. The Knicks then pushed the lead up a little bit to 8 early on in the second before the Nets came back to take a 1-point lead, all behind the back of Kyrie Irving. The Knicks then used a 17-2 run to close the quarter out to take a 14-point lead after Reggie Bullock's 4-3 at the half, ultimately heading up 10, 67-57. You know, Kyrie, like I said, he led the Nets with 23 points after James Harden was ruled out of the game in the second with, I think it was hamstring tightness there. For the Knicks, Julius Randle started off with 11, 7, and 8 to go along with Reggie Bullock's team high 16. The third quarter saw the Knicks get the lead all the way up to 13, but then the Nets took advantage of 7 Knicks turnovers in the quarter after only having 2 in the first half to make their own 14-2 run to end the quarter up 89-88. The Nets then jumped out to a 6-point lead with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth. Some timely baskets by R.J. Barrett then cut the lead down to 1 with just under 5 minutes to go. After the Nets were able to pull away again real quick, Alec Burks hit a big-time 3 with just about 25 seconds left to tie the game at 112. But then Jeff Green, who had a big game for Brooklyn, secured an offensive rebound and hit 2 free throws to get the Nets up to 2, which ultimately ended up being the winning margin after Julius Randle missed that buzzer-beater attempt. You know, I hate losing to the Nets again, man, especially in another close one. Kyrie's 40 points were just way too much for Julius Randle's 4th triple-double of the season. You know, I got no other words, man. Just a close loss to a team that I hate. Coke, I'm going to kick it off to you for your thoughts, man.
Well, you know, we got to start off with the build-up. You know, everybody was talking about, you know, the quotes that was talked about before the game, and that was, you know, the big 3, and then Randall and Bullock were like, you know, we don't worry about the big 3. We got the big, you know, the big 5 or the big 15 or whatever. And I think what it all boiled down to is they didn't even have a big 3, and they didn't really need it. And, you know, they beat us pretty much with you know, the side players, what I call the bums. I mean, again, the Knicks get killed by Jeff Green. He's becoming a certified Knick killer. And, you know, before I get into talking about Kyrie and, you know, how he got the crazy layup package, I got to talk about Joe Harris, because we got beat by Joe Harris's layup package, which is like, you know, which is crazy. You know, at the end of the day, I could live with Joe Harris, you know, banging threes and killing us with that. But he was going inside. He was laying it up on us like it was no tomorrow. And, you know, that just doesn't sit well to me. It's a tougher pill to swallow. And then you talk about being out hustled and outworked by guys like Alizé Johnson. And, you know, it just makes this loss tougher to take. You know, I could deal with an L of losing to James Harden, Kyrie, or even if KD played. But, you know, once again, you know, it gets down to the stretch, and we got Julius Randle taking a fadeaway jumper instead of going to the rack where, you know, maybe if you don't convert, you could at least get the foul call. And he doesn't come through in the clutch. And I think the big difference between this game is, although we have a defensive team that can keep us in games and, you know, kind of get us through ugly wins, we don't have a true superstar to carry us home as a closer. You know, Julius Randle made the All-Star team as a first-timer, but he's just not that superstar. We need a certified number 1, and we don't have that yet. And, you know, as you saw tonight, the margin of error is too small for us offensively. When we get off to good starts and, you know, it's raining threes, we look like a really good team. We can hang with anyone. I don't care who's on the other side or in another uniform. But we also go through those cold spells, and that just spells doom for us. And it usually happens in the third quarter. And that's what happened tonight. Jim, give me your thoughts.
Turnovers, and more turnovers. The third quarter was brutal. I mean, how many times did RJ throw the ball away? You know, like he was good. He helped us get back down the stretch, and he was pretty efficient. I think he shot 50% from the field. But like that third quarter, I guess like halfway through, it was brutal, and you just felt the game just completely slip away. I mean, I don't know really what else to say other than that. I mean, like how many offensive rebounds did Joe Harris grab today? It's not even him like attacking the rim. It's just like him and Alize Johnson just kept grabbing board after board after board. Like I know we were joking about it in the pre-show a little bit that like now have 4 centers, but we kind of need 4 centers. We don't really have anyone that's a great rebounder. I mean, I think on that one of those last possessions where I think it was Jeff Green that got fouled. Like, I mean, he just came up right over Randall and just grabbed the rebound, and that like was pretty much iced the game. And then what else can you really say about Kyrie Irving other than him just being absolutely elite? I mean, that step back 3 looked like the one he hit in the Cavs series when they won the title. It was like the same spot on the floor. I just like quick little step back, hits the shot. And yeah, it's kind of frustrating. And like Randall's clearly banged up. I mean, he was grimacing like something fierce in the fourth quarter. He's just not attacking the hoop at all. I mean, the triple double was great, but like he shot like 7 of 19. I mean, you can't do that. You need to, even without Harden around, it's like you need to bring it 100%, and we didn't have it, and it was another third quarter collapse, which stinks.
Man, I think this just sucked. If I'm being honest, it just kind of sucked. I think you guys all pretty much talked about what I would bring up. Koki brought up that we really don't have that superstar, that closer, that guy who can just, you give the ball to him and you say, all right, there's 4 seconds left to get us a bucket. For as good as Randall's been, he's not that. His game isn't really suited to that for as good as he is for the rest of the games and as good as he is creating for himself and for others. He really can't do it if you say, here's the ball on the perimeter and get a shot, which is what's holding us back right now. I think the other thing is, like, I think to me, the issue, a big issue is with Tibbs' rotations. And I know we keep talking about this, but I'm going to highlight 2 things in particular. The fact that he it feels like he just kind of is committed to the idea of Elfrid as a token starter. And while I'm not going to blame Elfrid entirely for this loss, he did have 2 really good layups to bring us back in at the end there. I mean, really good. They were okay. But the thing about making Elfrid a starter is if you're going to rely on Derrick Rose to carry you the rest of the way, like Tibbs does, Rose is playing 12 to 15 minute stretches at a time. And he just can't do that at this age anymore. And so you really start to see towards the end of games, even towards the end of halves, he just starts to fall off because
he collapsed. He collapsed tonight. He was 6 of 8. He ended the game 6 of 14. So it's like it's indicative of the fact that he's an old man.
Right. Yeah. And so, like I said, if you want to play him, 12 to 15 minutes per half, you can do that with him as a starter. Play him, 6 to 7 minutes, give him a nice long rest, bring him back in for the last 6 or so minutes. That way you stagger his minutes so he's not consistently out there. So I think that's an issue that's related to Tibbs sticking with Elfrid as a starter. That isn't just Elfrid sucks, which I do think he does. But the other one I want to talk about is it feels like Tibbs views Randall as sort of like a safety blanket, if you know what I mean. Like, no matter what the situation is, like if it ever feels like we're even slipping a little bit out of control, he'll go right back to Randall, no matter what it is. I mean, you look at Obi. He played 2 minutes in the second half. They were probably the most productive 2 minutes of his entire career at that point. He hit a 3, had a great contest down the other end. He was fine. I get that, yeah, he's not going to carry us down the stretch, but man, like, get Randall some rest. He clearly needs it. So I think
that's the thing that drives me nuts is because it's like he like pull Randall a little bit early in the third. Like at least I think today I saw today that Obi was up at on the sidelines, like maybe with like 2 minutes left in the third quarter. I might be wrong about that, but I was just like, finally, I was like, I've been asking for this for a while. Just like if you pull him with like maybe like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes in the third, then you'll give him the break between the periods, and then hopefully Obi can give you 2-3 minutes in the fourth, just so you can sit down and breathe for a second. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, and it's just the thing is, it's like it's not really about Obi playing well, Randall playing well. It's not about Peyton or Rose who's playing better. It's about these guys do need the rest during the game, even if it's just for a little bit. You can't just play these guys straight through anymore, especially with Rose being kind of old and worn down, and Randall's clearly dealing with a nagging injury. So that's just one of the big reasons, I think. I mean, I think you can chalk it up to a number of things. This was a 2-point loss. You can put up to basically any number of factors, but I think that's the one aspect of Tibbs as a coach that we're seeing. While he is bringing us up, he's also kind of holding us back from what he could be, if that makes sense. I think you can simultaneously say he's making us better, but he isn't making us the best we could be, if that makes any sense.
No, I think you're right, Kyle. And you see it with the Nets, right? With Nash, he's bringing his third stringers, and they're playing and he's trusting them. He's putting them in for long stretches. Alize Johnson, honestly, I would offer him a 2-year, $8 million deal right now, because that guy is insane. But really, more important to what you're saying, it shows that Nash, right? He didn't have KD. He lost Harden early. He knows that, look, I have to win this game with the guys I have, so I have to trust them. So I don't know how much Tibbs trusts these young guys, and therefore, going to Obi, is it a matter of he doesn't feel the coach trusts him, right? Because you need to play when you feel you're trusted, so that if you're going on the floor, you make a mistake or two, it doesn't really matter. With the Nets players, and they're third stringers, right? You can see that regardless, they make a mistake, it's okay. You play hard, you play to your strengths, right? And you've got the guy, well, tonight is just one guy that can save you, right? So they focus on what they can do. What's interesting with Nash is he basically put in a defensive team, right, to counter the Knicks and really force the Knicks, the Knicks, okay, they're a great defensive team. We know they struggle offensively. So when he started throwing those, Timothy in, Alize in, these guys are hounding the Knicks. They're playing defense, and that's something we've seen Knicks struggle with when they're trying to score and they're playing against a strong defensive team. They're going to struggle, right? So the plan was, it seemed to me anyway, you defend with the 4 guys. You let Kyrie score, right? So Kyrie's your one offensive option that the Knicks can't stop, and then you have the 4 guys in there defend. So that's kind of the way that this whole game flowed. Even though it was close, I didn't really feel it was all that close. Right, it was always teetering on. I was waiting for any minute for the Nets to start just pulling away. They didn't, which is great for the Knicks. But it's like Kyle, like we said, it's a fault somewhere. They're doing great, but then you're kind of wondering, is this it? How do they get better? I think that the only way they can get better is to give these guys some rest, and which is to trust your other guys. Play them more minutes. If they make a mistake or two, it doesn't matter. Right, in the long run, and there's only 24, 23 games left. If the plan is to make the playoffs, you can't go in there with Randall basically, hanging by a thread.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed is that we don't really have any energy guys. Like they had Alize Johnson and the Nick Claxton. I don't know how to say his name. Yeah, because maybe. Because they just grabbed they grabbed a ton of offensive rebounds and they created so many second chances that
that's my slice out the box there, Jim. You're trying to get to, but they had 26 second chance points to get off of their 11 offensive rebounds. The Knicks only had 2 second chance points. The Nets just came off a back-to-back. They played the Bulls yesterday. They didn't look like the team that played the back-to-back. They had just more energy than the Knicks. Again, to you guys' point, Alize Johnson coming in, he played really well. Jeff Green was getting those offensive rebounds, especially the last one there. 26 second chance points to 2 is a pretty big discrepancy there. And you guys can always say in a 2-point game you can point to so much. To me, that's the biggest factor of this game. You're just giving up so many, losing the energy battle, and letting them get those second chance points is just killer.
That was such
let me expand on that. Let me expand on that second chance points metric. The thing is, we talked about the Knicks rely on the defense, right? You got a guy in Kyrie who has like a all NBA layup package. You just can't defend the guy one-on-one, especially with our roster. Maybe the only guy who has a shot is Frank Ntilikina, and he doesn't get off the bench. Right. So the thing with that is we're forced to double Kyrie. But when you double Kyrie, you're going to cause the defense to scramble. Even if he misses the shot, the scramble takes you out of position to box out. out of position to get the offensive rebound. And that's why we got pounded on the offensive boards by the Nets tonight. Even though on paper they don't look like a team that should be killing you, on the offensive boards. That's why that happened. If we get, a defensive guy in here who can be a lockdown one-on-one guy, you can sick him on another team's primary scorer. Even if they don't shut him down, they could just contain him. But the shots that they do miss, you got a better chance of securing that rebound because as we all know that we learned from playing ball, the defensive possession is not complete until you secure that defensive rebound.
I think that's a good point. Is that I think it's kind of hard in today's game to find a guy who can shut down opposing perimeter guys, especially with how the rules are now. So
and especially
really
how elite Kyrie is too. I mean, he's probably one of the top 3 ISO players in the league, I guess.
Probably, yeah. So you have to find a guy who can defend him well and to slow him down on offense, and also you need your other 4 guys to be playing defense as well, because with today's game, with all the kickouts and the passing around the perimeter, you do need to have everybody locked in order to be a good defensive unit.
So the thing about the Knicks is that they do have the everybody else. They just don't have that one shutdown defender.
Yeah,
you could throw at. Right,
that's my point.
Yeah,
that's my point. Since we don't got the shutdown guy, you're forced to double. So when you double, you're going to concede offensive rebounds. That's just what's going to happen. You don't even have to shut the guy down, but if you could at least contain him or contest shots one-on-one, everyone else is in position to secure the defensive rebound. So, even if we don't get, or if it's, hard in today's NBA to get a shutdown guy, just get a guy who can hold his own. I mean, that's what Frank is supposed to be out there for. He's on your roster. I'm not a big Frank fan, so don't get it twisted. But this is the game. This is the game that you throw him out there, right?
So would you say this is the situation he should be playing in?
He's a half fruiter over there.
Nah.
No, he's realistic, man.
No, yeah. No.
But honestly, I thought the trapping worked. I thought it looked fine. I mean, I don't really remember getting burned. It had Kyrie create a couple turnovers, and Burks did tie the game. Off of one of those possessions we had to stop. So I don't think you're necessarily wrong, but I felt like it was pretty successful today.
I mean, the thing about that is that it's really high risk, because what you're giving up is you're giving up all that space for open 3-point shooters. So you're risking an open 3-point shot. And when you do it like once or twice, you can kind of catch the guys off guard and then force them into a bad look, into a bad pass, and create a turnover. But if you keep doing it over and over and over again, they're going to start playing around it. That's the issue.
I freaked out because they doubled off Joe Harris once, and I was like, "That's not the guy you want to do it." And I think that was the time that Kyrie threw it into the stand, so it didn't end up burning us. But if it wasn't Timothy Calderon or whatever his name is.
Walu Cabarro.
Yeah, if it wasn't him, Frank's countryman, we could have seen much worse results for sure.
Well, it's the Kyle's point earlier, right? Tibbs brings out a lot in the team, but he holds us back. Defensively, the Knicks are a top-tier defensive team this season without a defensive stopper, and that's pretty much all the Tibbs, right? I support Frank. I brought up the stat last game. He should have came in against Luka with the way that he plays defense. Not the last game, against the Mavs. And the stats that he has there, he should have came in against Kyrie. The Knicks' biggest problem, no matter who we play, is there's always teams getting wide open threes against us. Mm-hmm. And it just ends up killing the Knicks. And the thing is, if you have a defensive stopper in Frank, I hate saying it because right now the Knicks, you have to play Derrick Rose, you have to play Emmanuel quickly because he's a rookie, even though he's struggling. We want to see the young players in. To me, as much as Coke, I know you like to bring it up, Elf is that steady vet presence. Give that to Rose. Let Rose get those minutes with the starters. Let Quick come in, and Frank needs to come in for defense, because if the Knicks are serious about making the playoffs, you cannot leave teams and let teams get wide open threes. That's going to end up killing us in this game. In this game, the double teaming killed us on the offensive glass, or the defensive glass, I should say. But most of the time, it's going to kill us on wide open threes, and that's just the reality of it where we're at right now.
Well, so talking about us being a top tier defense team, this is actually my fun fact. So I know I've mentioned before, it feels like we've been significantly worse on defense since Mitch went out. It just feels like we're worse.
Feels like it.
We're really not that much worse. So this is one of the times I'm going to use a stat to say, hey, look, the stat says that I'm wrong. So before Mitch got hurt.
How humble of you.
Hey, it happens very occasionally. Very occasionally.
I mean, Kyle, I don't know what's up with you, man. Lately, you've been praising Elf here and there, and how you can prove yourself wrong.
Surprising.
Well, yeah. So for the first part of the season, when Mitch was healthy, we were the second-ranked defense in the league at 107.4 defensive rating. We gave up 107.4 points per 100 possessions. Since Mitch went out with his injury, and this actually includes the 4 games he came back for, we have been the 5th best defense at 108.1 defensive rating. So we're only about a 1 point per 100 possessions worse, which really isn't that much. So we're really not that much worse of a team defense since he's been out, even though it just feels like he is. I think part of the reason is because he kind of is that defensive stopper that can just late games completely change the momentum on one possession.
Well,
that we don't have with Nerlens or Tosh, who are just okay.
I think what we really missed of Mitch today, in particular, is that there was multiple in that run the Nets made in the third quarter. I think it was like a 14-2 run or something like that. That we really missed his hands because he can actually catch the ball on offense. I don't know if Coach counted how many bobbles he had tonight.
2.
But there was like back. Yeah, they were killer. Like I think RJ hit him in the hands a couple times. I think
Coach the ball hit me in the hands. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. And it's like that was like 3 turnovers and like 3 back-to-back possessions, and they were back breaking. It's like
they were back. Yeah, it was in the third quarter. It was 2 back-to-back plays. For some reason, I mean, Randall, Barrett, they need to stop passing to Noel, especially quick passes. The guy simply can't catch them.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was driving and they had RJ in the corner, and then there was Noel underneath the basket, and instead of making the play to RJ in the corner, they passed it to Noel, and I was just like, no, and it ended up being a turnover.
Right.
I mean, the moment that I remember, I don't know if this is a different time, but we miss Mitch because on the offensive boards, he's going to secure it. If you miss the shot, no one's going to take it out of his hands. There was a play where Alizé just ripped it right out of Noel's hands. Even when he gets a hand on the ball, it's not a secure possession because he's either trying to go for the tap, or if he does get both hands on it, someone's going to take it from him because he just doesn't have enough strength. And another thing that we miss about Mitch on offense is, I know Noel's an athletic guy. Don't get it wrong. But he's a different kind of athletic. He's athletic, swooping into, to the rim, nifty little finishes.
He's a horizontal athlete.
Yeah, he doesn't go up and get it and throw it down. And I think that comes back to the hands. Like with Mitch, you could just throw it up the 11 feet. He's going to grab it and throw it down. We missed that. We don't have that with Noel.
How would you guys felt if Noel took that 3 that he looked up at? Do you guys remember that?
That was actually a good try.
Does he make it or does it break?
I don't know. It was like, I think he did a step back too. I was just like, ooh, look at that footwork.
see, because to me that's Schrodinger's 3-pointer. If it misses, it was bad. If it goes in, it was great.
Yeah, I know. It would have been like a hallelujah. I would have said a prayer.
Wouldn't have heard the end of it.
No.
Noel has 1 3-pointer. Mitch has 0.
Oh God, yeah. They would have to rub that in Sham's face as much as possible. I kind of wish it happened now.
But that's a microcosm of what the impact of having Noel on the floor means. They're leaving him alone, so it becomes 5-on-4, right? 5 guys on the other end on the defense playing against 4 guys.
And then when Peyton's in, it becomes
like a 3.5, maybe. Yeah.
3 1/4.
And that's the
problem. I was
waiting
for you to bring that in, Kyle.
Yeah, I set Kyle up pretty well. I mean, that's really what his weakness. Noel is great. He's a defender. He's smart. He's crafty. I'll give him all of that. Right? He's a very smart defender. He's what, like 200 pounds with bad knees, but he tries. He knows what to do. He's savvy. He's a vet. But he lacks the certain things that Mitch brings, right, on both ends of the floor, right? It's just not the lobs and the offensive rebounds. It's the intimidation factor. When Mitch is in the lane on defense, you're thinking twice about driving. When Noel is in the paint, sometimes he's not even there. Honestly, half the times on defense, I don't even see him in the paint. I don't know where he is.
You don't see him because he's so skinny.
And guys
He's
are just driving
he's like a Scooby Doo guy. He like turns sideways so you don't see him, then pops
Yeah.
out of nowhere to
and
let
boom,
go.
all of a sudden he's he's
Wait,
flying
wait,
for a
hold
block.
on 1 second. Kyle, you know
Yeah.
what Scooby Doo is? I figured
Yeah.
you wouldn't know a cartoon from the 1970s.
Scooby Doo was from like the 2000s, man. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
What's new,
yeah.
Scooby Doo?
At a comeback.
I watched that so much in my childhood.
I guess someone didn't have
Scooby-Doo Mystery
Boomerang on
Inc.
the TV. That's also on HBO Max. That was the thing I was watching. I'm like 6 episodes into Scooby Doo because why wouldn't I want to watch the stoner gang catch ghosts?
But back to the censor thing. I just think the way to sum it up is Noel is effective against backups.
Right.
Mitch is effective against centers. When you bump them up on a depth chart and you got Noel going to get up against starting centers, guys who are a little more skilled and have a little more strength, it kind of neutralizes them.
Right.
And that's a player can be good one slot and mediocre in another. And I think that's what we're seeing with Noel.
Yeah, he's playing too many minutes. I think that's really what it comes down to is that like he's just out there for too long. Like he's effective in 20 minutes, but if you have to play him 30, it's like he gets exposed a little bit,
Yeah.
And
I feel
speaking
like
of
that's too many of our players.
and that's too many of our
You could say
players.
that's about like half the roster, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to get Evan Fournier, just because it's like that bumps Bullock to the bench, where he's probably going to be more effective in those minutes. I mean, he was great.
But,
Well,
but it would have been
tonight's not the
cost
night
us
to get
way
on
too much
Bullock,
to
though.
get him, man.
No, I'm not
Second round
saying-
picks. Oh.
Well, I'm not like saying Bullock played because this was his probably second best game in a Knicks uniform, and not to like kill him, but like we really need that other off perimeter player, and it's like he's not going to do anything.
Remember when Burks was better than Fournier?
You got to pick your spots, though. We're our podcast, man. Like, we can't focus on replacing Bullock when he dropped 21. That's not it, man. But, at the end of the day, I think a better thing to talk about right now in this time slot is that, our number one and number two guy, Randall and RJ, they committed 10 turnovers together. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. We got to focus on stuff like that, man.
Yeah. So
that's why I think it's important if we had another perimeter guy, maybe they would be turning the ball over less because they would take the ball out of their hands a little bit more,
Yeah, I mean that's part of the problem. That's the problem. They're handling the ball too much.
Yeah, and especially
So I think the issue just comes down to is just the overall talent of our roster just isn't there, especially once you take Mitch away. So when you think about it, really, right now, all we have is we have a solid all-star in Randall. Mm-hmm. We have a young developing star who's, he's still pretty inconsistent in RJ. And we have a solid 3-and-D guy who's probably a solid starter in Bullock. The rest of the roster is all bench guys.
Right.
So when you think about it like that, we just really don't have much talent, which it's a testament to Tibbs getting the most out of the roster that we're around 500 this slate. But also we just don't have the talent. So when you talk about another guy that can create, you hope that it's Rose most nights, but again, he's really more of a bench guy at this point. Right. He can really only play bench minutes. And then Quickly could be that guy, but he's still a couple years out from being that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely rookie walled. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. He's been horrible for at least a month now.
Yeah. But hey, it happens. I'm willing to forgive rookies, young players for being inconsistent. Like, it happens. Just play through it. You'll get better. You'll get better eventually. So the thing is, we just don't have much talent. Even with Mitch on the roster, that doesn't really improve our ball handling situation because he really can't do much on offense outside of the rim. So we just don't have much talent. We just can't fix it until the offseason, really.
All right, Kyle, before we get to the next thing, I just want to mention something that you said, and it's a question for any of you guys, whoever wants to take it. He mentioned Rose and talent. What we're seeing from Rose, like, post-COVID, do you think that, he's having lingering effects from, catching the virus, or do you guys think the talent is just like, it's leaving, he's aging and he just won't have it anymore? We're seeing him struggle to finish. Is it a talent issue or is he still recovering?
I think it's both. Because he was struggling to finish in Detroit. He was struggling to finish before he got COVID, and he's struggling to finish now. So I think it is a factor of he's just getting up there. He's not old, I don't want to say, because I know I'm pretty sure you all are older than him. So I'm not going to call you old. Like,
I'm 31, I think.
it's around the same age, right?
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, so I'm not trying. So he's not. It's not that he's getting old. It's just that the injuries are taking a toll on him. They're kind of sapping him of that athleticism he used to have. So it's that. It's the fact that he has had COVID. The fact that he's playing so many minutes straight that he can start off great and then just plummet towards the end because he's dead tired. So I think it's just a combination of all factors, and that's why I say he's not really a starting caliber point guard anymore, and he's just really a bench guy because he just doesn't have the ability to play consistently at the high level that he used to anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you could see as when he was with the Knicks, it was kind of he was already on the way down. And the last couple of years, yeah, every year has been a decline, which is expected, right? But he does look weaker this year coming back from club right now. So I'm hoping they get a little bit more from him. But I mean, the reality is, I don't think anybody expected that they traded for a starter, right? They traded for a solid vet that could score and create with the ball in the hands. That's what they needed. But if they thought they were going to get a starter, I mean, they were way off. I didn't think it was a starter, right? When they made the trade, I was like, oh, okay. They got a solid 6th, 7th man coming off the bench. They could score a little bit, do some of the things that the other guys can't. I didn't expect them to play 30 minutes. So.
Well, but that's the issue is we kind of need him to.
I know.
I don't like. We have so now. I know Mitch is hurt. We have 5 centers on the roster right now. 5, and I know Coke. You talked a couple of games ago about how you kind of need Taj to play next to a center for the rebounds, but you really can't play. You really can't play him at the 4 anymore. So we have 4 guys who can't play together currently on the roster, and I know we're not going to use Henson or Pell. It just I don't know. I think it just like some of the decisions just don't really make sense to me. Like, yeah, we got Pell for a 3rd guy, and that's fine. You could sign like a wing or a guard with a 10-day contract, and that would make more sense. I know they wouldn't play anyways, but I don't know. This is weird to me that you'd carry 5 centers on the roster even with 1 injured.
My first thought was to clown it too, but after sitting here and just kind of brainstorming on it a little bit, I think if we brought in a guard, like you said, they're not going to play, and pretty much we're healthy in the backcourt. I think the mindset is with Mitch out, and then you really only got Noel and Taj, as your first line of defense in the front court. They're both brittle. Taj is what is he, 35, and he's getting up there. And Noel he's already dealing with a shoulder injury he's playing through, and he's pretty much light in the ass. So, if anything happens, then we're looking real shaky in the front court. So I think they just doubled up with Pell and with Henson because if nothing else, at least those guys, they got a little size on them. They got a little strength. They could block some shots. So I think it's kind of like break in case of emergency type of thing.
And who are the guards? Who are the guards and wings available? Really? Do you really want Ben McLemore? Like, I mean,
Alizé Johnson.
Yeah.
I would tell you that guy is and he's not a no name. I think didn't he win the MVP of the G League or something like that? Or he's one of the all G League.
He was really good in the G League.
Yeah, and he shows it, right? He's physical. He's athletic. He defends. He can put the ball on the floor. I mean, better than RJ right now, honestly. To hit to the basket, somebody like that might have been worth a look, right? Just to throw out there if you needed some energy and some aggressiveness, physicality, something, right? A lot of our wings, Reggie, Alec, they're not the most physical guys, right? Then also not the most athletic guys. They shoot well, but that's kind of that's their skill. So if you need to actually mix it up, you throw in somebody that can actually play a little physical on the wing, right? That can, put the ball on full floor a little bit. I mean, honestly, Chris Chioza, what's his name?
Chioza.
He was the best point guard on the floor on both sides. He was breaking the Knicks down, right? And that shouldn't happen, but that's just.
It always happens with backup point guards against us. That's always a frustrating thing. Backup point guards just can always get to the paint. But back to your point about Alizé Johnson, I don't think Kyle's going to want him because he is older than Obi Toppin. So, you're going to see too many games
Very
when
rare.
Alizé is bad. It's going to be, this guy's 24. We can't develop him. Get him out of here.
He's almost 25. Come on.
But
I mean, if,
old,
if,
we're
if,
man.
talking-
if Obi could give us what Alizé Johnson gave them, just like energy and hustle, come
So
on,
if-
man, like how are you gonna let that guy grab a bunch of offensive rebounds? And I think that happened a bunch in the first half because they were matched up against each other.
Yep.
And
him and Claxton.
just out hustled.
Him and Claxton were just out hustling. But we're giving Nets bench players too much credit right now. Let's flip it over to Coke for a scrub of the night so we can knock the Nets down a couple of pegs.
All right, I'm gonna go with Timothy Luwawu Cabarro for no other reason than the fact that he tried to play the fake tough guy role and go at Julius like he really wanted to smoke. And when you look at Julius standing next to him, you know who's gonna catch the L. You know, Cabarro looks like a Dominican singer or something. I know he's French, but he looked like he should be doing some bachata or something. I don't know about throwing hands, so he gets scrub of the night just for that alone, man.
Yeah, it wasn't too much on the stat line anyway. 2 for 7, 1 for 4 from 3. So even if he's not being a fake tough guy stats wise, it's a pretty good pick right there. But
facts.
Let's take a look. Let's move past this game. Unfortunately, we get another division foe, Boston, on Wednesday. Give me you guys your thoughts on that game. That's could be an interesting matchup.
I'll go first. Boston is not, obviously they've kind of been disappointing. The problem for the Knicks is that they're talented. They have a lot of wings, right? Guys that can create their own shots. So that I'm afraid of that because the Knicks tend to have problems with teams like that. So I don't know. I think it'll be a close fought game. I'll say that, let's flip the coin. I'll say the Knicks win. But I think it's really, I'll go with the win. I think they're going to be pumped up for after this game. I mean, at the end of the day, they lost by 2 points, right? So I think they'll pull out a win against Boston.
I think we kind of thrive against teams that don't really have rim protection. And I know that Boston has made some moves, and even tonight, it was kind of surprising. RJ hit 6 jump shots today, and that's not usually what happens. He's usually doing a bunch of crazy stuff at the rim. So I think with that in mind, and I don't think I guess Brown's a pretty good defender, but I think we'll match up well with them. It depends. Honestly, it all matters. The only thing that matters is if Randall can be aggressive and attack. If he's going to rely on taking step back mid-range jump shots, we're going to be in trouble. If I'm gonna predict anything, you know what? I'm gonna follow up Moo and say that I think we're gonna win.
So, Jim, what are you talking about? They don't have rim protection. They got Robert the Time Lord Williams. They got Taco Fall, and let's not forget the ex-Nick himself, Luke Cornett.
Oh,
who's
man.
playing for him now.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Yeah,
Luke Cornett wasn't a bad shot blocker, if I remember.
Yeah, I hear he's a fan favorite over there. Him and Peyton Pritchard. I think, I don't think we match up well with them. Like you say, they got a bunch of shooting. They got a bunch of good wings. Rip Kemba Walker. He's kind of trash now. I'll always remember him at 2011 run. A guy for that. But if Randall can bully his way into the paint and RJ can get some shots at the rim, we might make it close. I know we beat them really bad last time, but yeah. So obviously we have a chance, but yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think we match up well with them at all.
Man, all I hear is a bunch of fence sitting, man. I don't even know what y'all predictions was. Y'all pick the wins.
I don't make predictions. That's the point.
I'm gonna just put it out there. The Knicks are gonna win, man. For the simple fact that Boston's been mediocre this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They don't really scare me at all. We tend to get up for games against teams that are supposed to be good. Keyword supposed to. So I think we're gonna come in charged up. We're not gonna losing this game. I think the team has showed some grit and some resiliency all year. Coming off of bad losses, they usually show up the next game. I attribute that to Tibbs, so they can be counted on for that. So I think they're going to come to play. I think they're going to get the win. And I hate Boston anyway, so I just really want to beat them, even though they're not that good. So I'm calling a Knicks victory, and I think it's going to be decisive.
I mean, I would hope so because they're playing the Sixers tomorrow. So Boston, has a tough divisional matchup. They'll be coming off an emotional game, on a back-to-back. But, we couldn't beat the Nets off a back-to-back without James Harden. I unfortunately think we're going to take an L. Boston has been disappointing as of late. But, I just think they're just too talented, and the Knicks just, we can't beat those teams where we're supposed to beat. When we lost to Minnesota, we can't beat a team with just, one player in Kyrie right now. We're letting Alize Johnson beat us. I think Boston's just going to have too much talent, even though they're going to be off a back-to-back. Unfortunately, going to think we're going to lose. Obviously, you're always hoping for a win, but if I got to make a call, that's going to be my call. But, let's wrap this one up, fellas. Coke, I'll swing it back over to you, man. Just give us your final thoughts.
Well, I'm gonna talk from an angle of dissecting Tibbs. I know he has his shortcomings. We don't really like his game management and the rotations and everything, but I got to keep pointing to the fact that nobody expected us to be here. So I try to even though I do have points where I criticize him, I want to keep in mind that if we go too hard at it, it's almost like we're criticizing a guy for underachieving at overachieving. So keep in mind, so keep in mind if anyone else is here, we're probably deep in the lottery, which could be a good thing. So with these losses, I really never get too bent out of shape. At the end of the day, we're playing with house money. So even if we take a slide or if we take a L, I always take solace in the fact that, hey, maybe instead of being at 1 pick slot, we'll be 2 picks earlier. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take it as it comes, and I'm going to keep my head up, chin up, chest out, no matter what. So let's just keep getting through these games and see where we stand at the end of the year.
You always have these profound thoughts for the next game. Like your an L is for learning was blew my mind. That was a couple games ago. But you know what, we fought hard with the Nets team. Both teams came and played hard. It stinks. I'm glad we were able to punch back at them and tie the game. We didn't draw up a great play. And I think once we start adding a little bit more talent to this team and we can kind of move players that should be on the bench back to the bench, right, I think we'll be much better. It's like you're right. It's we're upset that he's underachieving and overachieving because we don't really have any we don't have enough talent to out-talent these teams, because that's what happened tonight. It's just Kyrie Irving, we were a little bit out-hustled too, but it's we can't run that deep of a rotation because we have a lot of guys that aren't really rotation players. And we just need more talent to hang with the big boys, because we're not gonna outscore Kyrie. That's pretty much it.
So I know we talked earlier about how we just don't have those energy guys. We don't have that guys off the bench. So I'm going to start looking forward to the very far future, past the draft. Because I know that everyone's looking at James Bouknight on UConn, but let me stand for my favorite player from the UConn squad, Isaiah Whaley. He's just constant energy. He'll give you energy. He's pretty solid defense, and he started to show a flash for 3-point shot this year. He's not going to get drafted because he's not very good. But hey, if you want an energy guy, pick him up. He'll be an undrafted free agent. It's worth taking a flyer on. It's my final thought.
What position is that guy?
He's a power forward center. He's 6'9", 230.
Another center.
Yeah. No, like I said, he's an energy guy. He kind of reminds me of a less talented Kenneth Faried.
Okay.
Oh, we want a Kenneth Faried on the team. That's nice.
That's pretty good.
Hey, be nice.
Faried, when he was first in the league, he was great. Then he had disappeared.
Yeah, there's this kid from Turkey that's a big.
Sengun?
I don't know. Yeah. He looks pretty good. I don't know if he's an energy guy, but he's definitely a post and passing type guy. That I don't know if he'll be available when we draft, but he was kind of interesting. I watched some tape on him recently. I think you're right. I think we need that. We need one perimeter creator, and I think we need to replace some of our bench guys with energy guys.
Hey, you talk about guys being there when we draft. Isaiah Whaley's not getting drafted. Might as well pick him up. There you go.
After the draft, unsigned free agent.
Exactly.
I mean, the good thing, the Knicks still have 3 picks, right? so
Yeah.
they can focus
Four.
on picking out
We
four.
got
They still have
four.
the fourth. I thought they traded.
Now we got one back.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, we got
We
a
have-
50.
Oh,
slotted
yeah,
at
yeah, the 76ers pick,
Okay.
right?
We got 76ers. We're gonna right at the end of the draft to draft the UConn boy there for Kyle.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey, as long as he's on the team, you don't got to get minutes.
I mean, it's a good thing, right? That means they get a shot. They can draft some guys that they know can, are comfortable about being possibly solid role players, but then take a shot on flyer on a couple of guys, right? You never know.
I think you're crazy if you think we're drafting 4 players this year. There's
Yes,
no way we go into
that's-
next year with
I
4
agree.
rookies.
Yeah, I honestly, I would be surprised if we drafted anybody.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's available. I think that's the big issue. It's that like it would be nice if your Levine or Beal
Right.
would be available, but that's probably I don't even really want Beal, but that's a discussion for a whole other time.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm curious if
I
we
think
can.
Beal will be available
Yeah, I think
after
Beal definitely will
Washington's
be
going to end their
available.
season.
Yeah,
He'll be
Yeah.
there. He'll be there
Yeah.
for the taking.
Yeah,
Levine,
so-
not so much with Vooch on the team on Chicago now. So I think the Levine dreams are all gone. But Beal is that one target that's going to still be there. But
I don't know. I still think and this is really off topic, but I still think
Mhm.
Levine is not going to sign an extension this summer, and I think there's a chance that he makes it to free agency. And if Randall is as good as he's been this year, next year,
Mhm.
I think we have a much more compelling offer to them or to Levine to be like, hey, listen, like we've
to
got you.
sign as a free agent.
Yeah, we got you a second star in Randall, and if RJ takes another step and he's instead of a 17-point scorer, he's a 20-point scorer, I think you're going to be like, look at this roster. It's like you are clearly the missing piece for us to be a top team in the East.
But you know what's going to happen?
You go.
You know what's going to happen? He's going to even if he says, Knicks look great. Let's say we have another season, we take another step up. We sign. We don't waste all of our cap, right? For this off season, and we take a next step up. He's going to say, even if he says, okay, great, the Knicks look like they're up and coming team. I got 2 guys that are right at my level, right, that are in my age range that I could grow with. He's going to force a sign and trade because he's going to be looking for a max. So he's still going to have to give the Bulls something. Right, and what is the standard going rate for these top end max free agents doing a sign and trade? Right, so it's not going to be nothing. You're still going to have to give up something, and
Yeah,
something is usually not like second round picks, right? So
But-
it's
Well, that's why.
By the way,
Hmm?
Slice, I know you're trying to finish this off. You're welcome for this tangent, by the way. I started talking about Isaiah Whaley. Now we're talking about Zach Levine and Bradley
Yep.
Beal.
Hmm.
How did we get here?
All this means to me is that we desperately got to get this draft show going. Man.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
so I
I
guess
think so.
Got a lot of pent up energy.
if the guys we end up drafting, I mean, let's say Book Night falls or somebody like that, or we get Davion Mitchell. Luckily, I mean, not that I don't know if I would want to trade Davion Mitchell, but like if we end up with like halfway decent, if they're as good as Quickly, for example, it's like you can still trade those people even after their draft picks. Like maybe it's like a quick OB and the Dallas pick and our 2022 pick. Something like that.
we still think Obi's gonna net us something.
I don't know.
Hey, he started to look better.
Yeah, I think he's been fine.
He's looked like a role player,
Yeah, he looks like an NBA player.
not the worst player in the league anymore. So
Baby
progress.
steps, but yeah, I think we're reaching a little bit too much here. But
Yeah.
again, we'll get this draft show going. I know Coke Stitch, and we've always got, we've had some good draft conversation, and there's a long way to go with the rest of the season, right? It's a long way to play out. The Knicks are still in playoff contention. The Mavs still in playoff contention. So the Knicks, we don't know where the 2 picks are going to be in the first round, and the second round is the second round. So we'll see what happens there. But unfortunately, looking at tonight, the Knicks just couldn't take advantage of twice holding double-digit leads. Julius Randle's 4th triple-double of the year went to waste. Kyrie 40 on us and getting beat by Alize Johnson and Jeff Green just proved to be too much for us. Hustle plays and fouls ultimately doomed the Knicks in the 4th quarter there in a game we had a chance to win. But Knicks get a day off before heading up to face another division foe in Boston on Wednesday night. We thank everybody for tuning into this edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM, and we out.
Mecca.